The ghost of the New York Rangers in 3, the remnants of the former Cup champion Islanders in 5, and won the Wales Conference title in 6 over Quebec, taking the deciding game at the Spectrum last Thursday 3-0 in a masterpiece. Sparked by Dave Poulin's shorthanded goal when the Nordiques had a two-man edge, and the third playoff shutout from Pelle Lindbergh. The Flyers are underdogs against the Oilers, but so were they 11 years ago when they moved into the finals for the first time and faced a similar offensive powerhouse, the Bruins. Instead of Gretzky, the 1985 NHL scoring champion, it was the incomparable Phil Esposito. Instead of the odds-on choice this year for the Norris Trophy as the league's best defenseman, Paul Coffey, it was the Bruins winner of that title 7 out of 8 years, Bobby Orr. And for the Flyers, those similarities existed. Instead of this year's odds-on choice as the goalie of the year and the Vezina Trophy, Pelle Lindbergh, it was then the two-time winning titleist, Philadelphia's Bernie Perron. Instead of the lunch play of blue-collar ethic and defense of Brad Marsh, it was the Flyers' current color man on Prism, Eddie Van Impe. And the captains played a role. Then it was Bobby Clarke. Today it was Dave Poulin. Again, the story is, will great defense measure great offense? Time will tell as we prepare for the 1985 Stanley Cup Finals. Prism Sports proudly presents the Stanley Cup Championship Round. Live from the Spectrum, the finals, Game 1, the defending champion Edmonton Oilers and the Philadelphia Flyers.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Spectrum for the first game of the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm Bobby Taylor, along with the Flyers coach Mike Keenan. And Michael, is the feeling everything what you thought it would be?
It's exciting, and we're pleased to be here, but there's so much preoccupation in preparing for the playoffs, and particularly the final series. You won't have a chance to really enjoy it a great deal.
What would you like to try and establish? I know we've talked about it every time we started a series, but what would you like to do against this high-powered offense of the Oilers?
Well, I think that's fairly obvious. We have to shut down their scoring ability and hopefully get to the net very, very, very early and take advantage of the home ice. We only play the 2 games here, then we've got the 3 on the road, so we have to win these hockey games here.
Tim Kerr back in the lineup. How often will he be used?
Hopefully he can play a regular shift. He skated particularly well in the last 3 practices, and I'm expecting he'll be able to play regularly, and I'm counting on it right now. And Timmy tested the leg quite a bit this week. He went out in practice and really took some bumps on it, and it worked out well, so we're hoping he can withstand that during this playoff series.
I think with his return you have to have a big smile, because now the power play should be a good chance of getting going.
Well, he's done so well in the power play for us all year, and he's a big man and a big shooter, and they certainly will respect him, and that'll give other people a little bit more room as well. If he's not cashing in front of the net, they're going to give Brian Propp, for example, or Sinisel or someone else a chance to get the loose pucks, and that's an important advantage. When we don't have Timmy on the power play, that portion of our power play is taken away from us.
When you do get to the finals, as a coach, is it something that you don't really have to play the head games or really get the players prepared for it, because this is what you dream about by the time you're 3 years old and up?
Well, you hope that you don't, but there's some psychological tactics that you're going to have to employ during a series like this, and I think it's going to be related mostly to confidence. We're playing a very experienced hockey club that have been through this process 3 times in a row now, and we have such a young club. No one ever thought we'd be here, and I'm sure that our confidence level will have to be maintained during the course of this series if we're going to be successful.
Is there also a chance that you might have to tone them down a bit, that they might get too excitable?
Yes, and I've tried that this week, as a matter of fact. I've tried to diffuse some of the excitement they've had from time to time during practices, and it might have been a different approach that they haven't expected, but I thought it was necessary to keep things in focus so they wouldn't become overexcited and forget about their responsibilities and their jobs.
Any more lineup changes other than Tim Kerr?
That's a possibility. I'm not sure what we're going to do until game time. There's a chance that I might move Todd Bergen out of the lineup. I haven't decided yet.
Well, good luck tonight, Mike.
Thanks very much, Bob.
Mike Keenan, the Flyers coach, and now for their views of tonight's game, let's go down to Ed Van Imp and Gene Hart. Gentlemen.
Since you made our opening, Mr. Van Imp, it would certainly be apropos now to have a comment about your remembrances of the first final in '74 with the Bruins.
I can think back, Gene, you can think of the deciding game, the 1-0 game where the Flyers actually clinched the Stanley Cup. You look at it, you're on top of the mountain, you enjoy it for a brief moment because training camp's only 3 months away. The thing I remember most is all the people we made happy, including ourselves.
Let's go to the inevitable matchups if you come into these two teams, one a great powerhouse offensively, the other a defensive giant. And you have to start with the goaltenders. You know, a couple of years ago with the advent of Ken Dryden and Pete Peters and Tom Barrasso, we were going to the giant goaltenders, and yet we have two mighty mites tonight in Edmonton's Grant Fuhr and Philadelphia's Pelle Lindbergh.
You know, Gene, you look at those two goaltenders, and they have an awful lot as far as size and style. It's an awful lot of similarities. They're both small goaltenders, as you mentioned. Also, they're very, very quick. They're probably the quickest goaltenders in the National Hockey League. They both play for great hockey teams. One's a scoring machine, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Flyers are a defensive machine. So I think the goaltending matchup is a great one.
Let's go to the two defenses, one led by an explosive offensive threat in Paul Coffey, and of course the elegance of Philadelphia's Mark Howe.
When you look at the two defensemen, they're both good skaters. They're both puck handlers, and Coffey had 121 points in the regular season. Mark Howe had 57. I think that Coffey maybe is a little bit more of a gambler on offense, and that's basically the design of their whole Edmonton Oilers system. Mark Howe can carry the puck when he wants to. He's more of a defensive defenseman. They both contribute an awful lot to their hockey clubs.
And up front, of course, the incredible Wayne Gretzky, and we're not going to go to an offensive threat for Philadelphia, but their team leader, Davey Poulin.
Well, you look at Davey Poulin, the team captain, as well as Gretzky is for the Oilers. They both contribute in an awful lot of different ways. Gretzky owns the scoring as far as the National Hockey League is concerned. Davey Poulin does an awful lot for the Flyers. He's strong defensively, scored 30 goals, and also Davey's a leader by example on the ice. Excellent penalty killer. It's just nice to have him out there.
Regular season doesn't mean anything this year or last, but Eddie, the fact that the Flyers haven't lost to the Oilers in 8 during the last 2.5 regular seasons has to have some meaning for Philadelphia.
I think it does, Gene, but not all that much. You can look back at the regular season. The regular season's over. It's the Stanley Cup Finals right now. That's all that counts. You can look back at it if you won the 8 games or won 8 games without a loss, and it's positive. But the Edmonton Oilers, they take the approach that doesn't make any difference. We're starting fresh right now.
Number 12 is back in the lineup. How much of a boost?
I think Timmy Kerr is going to mean an awful lot to the Flyers. He scored 54 goals during the regular season for him. Again, leads the team in the playoffs in scoring, and he means an awful lot to him in a regular situation, but he makes that power play go.
Well, we began with dreams 8 months ago. The dream becomes a reality tonight as the Flyers race for the Stanley Cup. Game 1 coming up with the Oilers after this.